All right, let's talk about cybersecurity spring cleaning. And look, I know that can sound like a chore, but we're going to frame this as what it really is, a critical action plan. This is your step-by-step guide to seriously reduce risk and harden your defenses.
So, let's kick things off with a simple question. I want you to just picture your network right now. Is it a tidy, well-organized office where you know where everything is? Or, and be honest, is it more like a cluttered garage, just packed with old stuff, forgotten projects, and who knows what else hiding in the corners?
You know, in our world, that clutter, it has a name. It's called technical debt. It's all that digital baggage we meant to clean up but just never got around to. And here's the thing. Every single piece of that debt, every old account, every out-of-date app is a potential open door for an attacker.
Okay, so where do we even start with this cleanup? Well, the absolute first step, the one you just can't skip, is total visibility. It's simple, really. You can't protect what you can't see. So your first mission is to build a complete and total inventory.
It really all boils down to this one foundational rule of cybersecurity. This isn't just some catchy phrase, It's a mandate. If an asset isn't in your inventory, it's not secure. Period. End of story.
So let's make this super actionable. It's a three-step process. First, inventory. I mean everything. Your servers, endpoints, all your cloud resources, every single SaaS app you're paying for. Second, you go hunting. You're looking for shadow IT and orphan systems. The stuff that other teams spin up without telling you. And third, you validate. For every single thing you find, you have to be able to answer one simple question. Why does this exist? What is its business purpose?
And this is the strategic win you can take right up to your leadership. When you find that forgotten server some dev team spun up 5 years ago, you're not just decluttering. You are actively closing an unpatched, unmonitored backdoor that attackers are literally scanning the internet for right now.
Okay, so once you've got a complete map of what is on your network, the next logical step is to control who has access to it. See, privileges just seem to pile up over time, creating a ton of unnecessary risk. So it's time to start pruning.
Here's your game plan, your prioritized checklist. Start with the easy wins, the low-hanging fruit. Disable accounts for former employees and vendors immediately. In fact, this should be an automated part of your offboarding process. Next, dig into all your privileged and admin accounts and ask the tough question, does this person really need these rights all the time? Your goal is to enforce the principle of least privilege. And finally, don't forget those service accounts. Audit them and get those credentials rotated on a regular schedule.
The payoff here? It's massive. Think about it. When an attacker compromises one account, their goal is always to move sideways through your network. By getting rid of all that unnecessary access, you're essentially building internal walls. You're making it incredibly difficult for them to spread, and you might just contain a breach before it even gets started.
All right, we've covered our assets and our access. Now let's look at the infrastructure itself. You see, outdated systems are like these cluttered, hazardous hallways in your network. They just create risk, and they need to be cleared out.
Your focus areas here are really clear. Here's your hit list. First, any operating system that's past its end of life. Yeah, I'm talking about that old Windows Server 2012 machine humming away in the corner. It's a huge liability. Second, any old, unsupported applications or libraries that your legacy stuff depends on. And third, that old firmware on your network gear. Attackers have literal playbooks just for these vulnerabilities.
This gives you a clear, no-nonsense framework for dealing with those systems you absolutely can't upgrade. You've got 3 choices. Isolate them, stick them on a segmented network where they can't hurt anything important, monitor them aggressively, watching for any sign of trouble, or, and this is almost always the best option, just decommission them entirely.
So now that we've cleaned up the environment, it's time to strengthen the defenses that are supposed to be protecting it. And we're going to start right at the perimeter, with the gatekeeper of your network, the firewall.
Come on, we've all seen it. Firewall rule sets that are a complete mess. You know that allow any rule that someone put in for temporary testing 3 years ago? Yeah, it's time for that to go. Every single rule needs a documented business reason to exist. And here's the bonus. A clean rule set isn't just more secure, it makes troubleshooting 1,000 times easier for your team.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a tough question, and I want you to be really honest with yourself. Are your backups actual safeguards, or are they just assumptions? Because let me tell you, if you've never actually tested your restore process, you don't have a safeguard. You have a very expensive and very dangerous assumption.
The big takeaway here is this: verify, don't just trust.
That little backup completed successfully message, it means nothing. Your team needs to be doing actual test restores into a sandbox environment. And critically, you have to make sure you have offline or air-gapped copies. Why? Because ransomware attackers will go after your backups first. This is your last line of defense. Now, let's talk for a second about the human impact of all this clutter. A cluttered network leads directly to a cluttered alert console. We call it alert fatigue, and it's one of the biggest problems for any security team. When your analysts are just drowning in low-priority noise, it becomes almost impossible for them to spot the real signal of an attack.
So this is how you help your team. This isn't about buying another shiny new tool. It's about optimizing what you already have. Your number one priority should be tuning your SIEM alerts. Create rules to just automatically close known false positives. Make sure your system clocks are all in sync. I'm telling you, these small changes will have an immediate, massive impact on your team's effectiveness.
And finally, let's talk about your incident response plan. I see this all the time. A team pulls out their playbook during a crisis only to realize it's completely out of date. An outdated playbook is a disaster waiting to happen. Your refresh needs to reflect reality today. That means current network diagrams, correct asset owners with phone numbers that actually work, and playbooks that are aligned with the threats you face now, not 2 years ago. We have covered a ton of ground, from inventory all the way to incident response. But the most important takeaway here isn't any single task. It's about a fundamental shift in your mindset. This whole spring cleaning idea, it can't be a one-time project. It has to become a continuous operational discipline.
And this quote, this really nails it. The goal isn't some impossible state of perfection. It's about intentional maintenance. You're not aiming for a flawless static network. You're building a continuous process of review and improvement. That's what a mature security program really looks like. And the results of this discipline, they speak for themselves. This isn't just a security exercise. A well-maintained environment is just more efficient, it's more stable, and it's dramatically more resilient. This is the strategic advantage you can take right to your leadership. By investing in this, we are making the entire business harder to break. So I'll leave you with this one last question to take back to your team. Is your security hygiene a one-time, annual chore that everyone dreads? Or is it a daily discipline that's just baked into how you operate? Your answer to that question will ultimately determine how resilient you really are.